Welcome to ChampionsHeart. You can't play boxing. Featuring boxing addict Johnny Farache and friends from superfans to superstars. Let's roll.
Boxing fans, welcome to Today. Today is Friday, July 17th, and I'm joined by Hall of Fame publicist from 15rounds.com, Mr. Marc Abrams.
What's up, Johnny? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. As always, let's jump right into it. Let's go over some of the results this week on Tuesday night from the bubble in Las Vegas. The headliner, Jamal Herring, tested positive again for COVID, so you had to pull him out. And Mikaela Mayer took the headlining spot. What do you think of her performance?
She did a heck of a job against Helen Joseph, who's a tough customer. Mikaela herself was coming off that positive reading a couple weeks ago for the COVID-19, and she did well. And only bright things are ahead for her. I know her promoter Bob Abrams told her her next fight's gonna be a world title fight, and she is, with that performance and with that platform on Tuesday night, gained her a lot of great exposure. So that hopefully, for her case, it will enhance her in terms of people knowing who she is, and they're grooming her hopefully to be one of the faces of women's boxing.
Absolutely, and they are grooming her. And another thing that I like too is that women's boxing has really evolved over the years. And before it was they looked a little amateurish. Now they're looking like, she looked pro. She was looking great in there.
My interview series I've been doing, I've interviewed quite a few female boxers, and you can just tell the quality of fighters. I mean, I think, and I've asked a couple of the girls this, the Olympic movement, they've had 2 Olympics worth of female fighters, I believe, 2012 and 2016. This year would have been a third. So that gives younger girls the motivation to pick up the sport and stick with it, because there's an end game to it. And then when these girls are they refine their skills, you can see the depth in some of these in some of these weight divisions where you before maybe in 1 or 2, 3 girls. So now some of these divisions are they're going 10, 15 deep, and some exciting matchups on the way. Katie Taylor's fighting Pursoon. Obviously, the fight with Amanda Serrano has fallen through for now. And I just talked to Sinisa Estrada. She had that great fight with Marlene Esparza back in November. Looks like they're going to do it again after they both take some fights next week, and Esparza back in August. And
side note, that fight between Esparza and Sonata was actually one of the very only 3-minute round contests.
Correct.
Female fight, and a fight of the year in female, in my opinion.
It was a really good fight, and I had a really nice conversation with her that you could see on 15 rounds and my YouTube and all that stuff. But yeah, Sinisa, she's a good fighter as well at 17-0.
Well done, Mikaela Mayer. Definitely good. Also on that card, we got to see the most successful boxer of 2020, Cassius Clay Collard. What do you think of him?
I actually talked to Clay Collard last week, and he's a real he's a good story. I know he my good friend Joe San Loquido from Ring Magazine did a story on him. Yeah, the kid was homeless, and then he became an MMA fighter, fought some big MMA UFC fights, and he's actually signed to an MMA league, I think the Professional Fighters League. So while he's they're on hiatus because of everything going on, they're letting him get back into boxing. He's making the most of it. 4 straight wins, 3 over undefeated opponents. Good knockout the other night, and I understand he'll be back on the top-ranked card in August.
Beautiful. Another top-ranked card last night. We saw Felix Verdejo.
Very impressive. Obviously, Verdejo, a lot has been asked of him since he came out of the 2012 Olympics. Was supposedly a can't-miss fighter. He's still 27-1, but he got knocked out in the one fight. He hasn't looked great in probably most of his last 7-8 fights. But last night against a good opponent, Will Madera, who was 15-0 at the time, came to fight, and Verdejo now with trainer Ismail Salas, could he be the fixer to kind of get Verdejo on the right track?
All right. Now at 28-1, how does he challenge that deep lightweight division, the top?
Well, he may have to wait a little bit. Obviously, with Lopez and Lomachenko fighting, and Haney and Ryan Garcia, have other things going on. I could see, basically, you have two top-ranked fighters fighting each other, and Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. I can very easily see Verdejo fitting in on that side of the ledger there.
Right. Also, there was a fight in Japan. Japan got back to business. Their first fight since February, and there's actually a big upset in that fight.
Yeah, I believe Inoue's cousin got beat. I don't know too much about it, but I know Naoya Inoue, his cousin, was supposed to be a pretty decent prospect, and he was knocked out on, I guess it was Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, Koki Inoue, 15-1, 12 knockouts. He's 140-pound junior lightweight, was knocked out by Dashi Nagata, who's 15-2. Big upset, obviously, there in Japan, but at least Japan's back in the books. They're back rocking and rolling. This week we have DAZN coming back. Is that correct?
Yeah, the July 24th, I've actually talked to a handful of the fighters on the undercard, headlined by Virgil Ortiz taking on Sammy Vargas in the main event. Some other fighters, Sinessa Estrada, Hector Valdez, Evan Sanchez, Hector Tanahara against Hesta. Actually, it's ironic, both those guys were offered fights with Ryan Garcia. Garcia didn't want to fight either of them, so they're just fighting each other.
There you go. Also on the card, Shane Mosley Jr.
Shane Mosley Jr., who I'll be speaking to later. So,
nice. Tell me said hi. Okay. And then before that, so that's next next Friday. The next Tuesday, back at the Bubble, you have Oscar Valdez.
And Jason Velez. It's a pretty stacked card. There's 5-6 names on the bill. I know these ESPN shows, they've been showing about 4 fights, but you have Guido Vanello on the card. You got all kinds of talent on the card. I know that Isaac Dogbay be back in action as well.
Excellent. And then tomorrow night, I believe you have on ESPN a card from Germany as they get back rolling.
Tomorrow afternoon, Cable, the heavyweight, who's a pretty good young fighter who might fit in the mix, and now he's getting some play on ESPN Plus, so it ingratiates him into the American, the eyeballs of the American fans.
Other than that, that's really all that's really going on in boxing right now, is we all kind of wait and see, as people slowly roll themselves back out.
Yeah, and then the week after, I believe Showtime will be back on August 1st, and then there may be a show on Fox August 8th, another Showtime fight August 15th. DAZN has another show, and then I believe it's August 1st from England. Eddie Hearn's going to start his backyard series. Literally, the fight's in his backyard, outdoors. So yeah, things are, slowly, inching their way back. And like I said, not box related. Hopefully, things start going, in a good direction in the next, few weeks, and then maybe we can start getting some of these bigger fights.
Do you feel that, Top Rank coming out of the gun so quick like that, getting these guys back going and get moving, that's obviously kind of putting them a little bit ahead, right?
They're doing a hell of a job. They have a lot of forces working against them with doing these fights in this bubble atmosphere, fights falling out. Not many fighters are ready to fight, and they've done a good job. Some of these these shows have been pretty entertaining, and like last night we were talking about Verdejo. People saw an explosive knockout. They also saw the continuing growth of Jared Anderson. So there have been some good fights, and they're doing a great job, especially with all the circumstances that are working against them.
What word do you have on how Golden Boy and how they're doing their show in terms of they form some sort of same bubble?
I would imagine so, because they're doing it at a resort casino in California, the Fantasy Springs. So I would imagine they're working off of some kind of maybe not exact blueprint that what Top Rank's doing, but something, along those lines. I mean, I believe that's the only way you could do. You got to keep these fighters kind of,
quarantined. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not, whether, because the UFC, I don't know if they're quarantined. They quarantine, and then they're allowed to kind of move around a little bit even before their fights. So maybe there's some combination of both, and
There you go. Well, hopefully come November 4th, maybe quarantine or maybe COVID goes away. I don't know, or something like that. I don't know what's going on with all that there. But anyway,
if you want those answers, don't get me. Call Dr. Fauci.
There you go. Well, I know one thing. They're not going to tear the Rocky statue down.
No, that's the one statue that's probably still up in Philly. I haven't been down that way, so
Long live Rocky. Love it. All right, my man. Well, always appreciate catching up with you. We'll be back again next week, and we'll pick the ball back up, and we'll let everybody know what's going on in boxing.
Looking forward to it, Johnny. You have a great weekend.
You too, my man. Brotherly love as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for coming on.